Welcome to the Abundance Podcast with Sonia Gomez. I'm your host, Sonia Gomez, and I'm really excited to be here on another amazing show. Today, we have an incredible guest who I'll introduce to you here in just a moment. But for those of you who are just joining us and have never listened to our show before, you are in the right place. This is the Abundant Podcast, the place to be for Freedom TV. We are diving into the areas that matter most in our lives: our faith, our family, our finances, and more importantly, our freedom. We are so excited to dive into all the different areas. And the guests that I am bringing in on this show, guys, have been hand selected by myself, are creating incredible transformation for themselves, their audiences, inside of their lives and inside of their businesses. So I can't wait to share and tell more about these incredible stories. Our guest today is Karen Briscoe. She is the host of the 5-Minute Success podcast. And Karen has been on a heroine's journey from being way too busy and overwhelmed to loving the life that she has while she creates and co-creates the life of her dreams. In her personal life, she's enjoyed good health for her age, long and happy marriage to Andy since 1987, and 2 healthy, well-established kids. Yet there never seems to be enough time or money. She felt as though there was something more that was hers to do. Busy had become a competitive arena, a badge of honor, but she found it only one thing truly stopping Karen was Karen herself. She learned how to flip time and to focus on meaningful activities and work. And if she can do it, you can do it, my friend. Her most recent book, Flip Time, Love Life, is based on this heroine's journey. Guys, to share more with us about this incredible story, please help me welcome my good friend, Karen Briscoe.
Well, Sonia, I love everything about abundance, and I love the opportunity to doing a pod swap because I had you as a guest on 5-Minute Success and now have an opportunity to share with your community. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Loved being on your show as well. I'm super excited to dive into your story. And for those of you guys who are listening, go ahead and take a minute right now, like, share, comment on this, what you're most excited to learn about, what your takeaway is from this episode. Together, we have been able to impact over 300 million people worldwide. So I want to make sure that you guys continue to help me reach this incredible audience and serve people around the world. Karen, let's start off with the good stuff. Tell me a little bit about your background and how you got into this business.
Well, I like to say I started in dirt. I know you're involved in dirt too. So, we're a couple of dirty ladies.
And down and dirty.
Down and dirty. And right after college. And that led me to meeting my husband. I was working in commercial real estate, working as a land developer, putting in streets, utilities, and selling lots to home builders. And fast forward, 2 children. My husband's career moved us to the Washington, D.C. metro region. And I was the primary caregiver, and I wanted to be. My husband's travel schedule was very challenging, and I appreciated the opportunity. That being said, I recognized that I had more that I wanted to contribute in the working world. And so when I re-entered the workforce, when our children were kind of middle school age, I went back into commercial real estate, and I worked on the Nextel account. It was during the .com bust, and I was working the sales and engineering warehouse office. And I like to say, if you've seen one sales engineering warehouse office. And during the bust, there wasn't any money. And so when there's no money, you just position mode of like, okay, this is not the space to be in right now. And someone said, well, why don't you try residential? And from my viewpoint and many people's, the commercial, they are the hard skills, the finance, market knowledge, strategy. The residential is often the soft skills, relationship, people. And I found when I combined the two, it was like I met with I was called to do, and met with success very rapidly. And when people achieve at a high level very quickly, people notice, right? And so I accelerated very quickly in my career, took over the business of a $100 million a year producer, which is back in the early O's. It was a lot of money.
Wow.
It's still a lot of money. But then my partner passed away in 2006, and the market crashed. And a lot of people, well, not a lot, some people survived the market crash. We had the financial market crash and the real estate crash all at the same time. What was unique to me was my partner died at the same time, and the business was just really a challenging time. And so I set about, I'm very resilient. I set about rebuilding the business, and my current business partner joined me the next year. And over the next decade, we set about rebuilding. Well, along the way, people would say, well, how'd you do it? Again, because I did have some unique aspects to my journey. And so that led to speaking and coaching and training. And that led to what I call my success journey, which is the writing of the books and my podcast. And that has also led me to this shared in my bio, or my intro, is my heroine's journey, what really became my calling to adventure of discovering what I was meant to do in my life.
That's amazing. Yeah, I remember on the podcast that you were talking about how you are coaching and supporting. I'm also a platform speaker, and I speak on many topics: personal development, business development, how to achieve more, how to be more. When you're done achieving and doing all the stuff and things that life requires you to do, how do you really own your legacy and leave something that you're truly proud of? Because it's not the material things, but it's those don't last as long as the lessons, the imprint that you leave on your kids, your family, and your community. So for you, when you think about your legacy and what you're leaving behind, and what you're creating right now while you're still this incredible, thriving businesswoman, what is it that you are most proud of to create? What is your mission right now to leave with your family and community?
I say still, I continue to be a mega real estate agent. And so still very involved in the business. And like I said, the creative endeavors really has re-energized me and helped me see, again, to have a passion, a purpose, and a mission. My most recent mission you shared is the idea of time, because I find that, again, busy has become a competitive arena, and the idea that we don't have enough time. And when you talk about abundance and resources, really time is one of those, the key resource that everybody gets the same amount, and it goes away whether you do something with it or not. So it matters. And Einstein's the one that said that time is relative, because if you consider the time doing something you don't want to do, like sitting in traffic or in a boring Zoom meeting, time will just stand still. But if you're with someone you love, or you're doing something you're passionate about, time will fly by. So it's relative. It really does matter what we do with our time, how we invest our time. And you can actually create more time by this concept of flip time, love life. And I was preparing for presentation of a TEDx talk on time, and my coach said to me, but what about work-life balance? And I was like, well, but it really isn't any balance. It's truly counterbalance if it's anything, because if you have a lot of attention on work and then your family suffers, then what value is that, right? So the idea is it should live, in a cohesion, if you will. So the concept of flip time comes from the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So you probably remember them from your college psychology classes, and that is, Maslow says everybody has basic physical needs. You have food, safety. Well, food and shelter is first, and then safety and security. And I point out to people, we all really know how important those become when something like a crisis, like a pandemic happens. Because what was everybody doing? They were, hoarding toilet paper, and, as you have experienced, growing their own food, they really went back to the basics, and security became very important. The security of their health, security of their family, their most important things. And then you have your, relationship needs, your esteem needs, and then you have self-actualization. And what I find is many people wait to focus on self-actualization once they've done everything else. But what if you run out of time? What if you put it off so long that you run out of time? And so what I found, and all the people I've talked to since then, The idea of flipping it, just flip it over, flip the whole thing over and start with self actualization. And when you do that first, then of course you are going to feel more authentic and in tune with yourself. Your self-esteem needs are going to be met. Your relationship needs are going to be met because you're going to be your best self. You will be safe and secure because you know that you are comfortable with yourself and confident with yourself. And your basic needs are going to be met because you are going to be living your best self. And when I started living that way and focusing my life that way, everything else started to fall into place. And so that, if you want to, that's my mission. I have the 5-minute success principles as well. But in terms of how to create abundant living, truly abundant living, freedom is time freedom. One
That's
of the
what
key
everyone's
elements.
trying to buy back anyways, is
Yes.
their time, right? You work and work and work and work because you think that what you earn, quote unquote, your status, your income, these things are going to allow you to buy your time and freedom. And it's so funny, there's this whole economy around your time in corporate, right? They're your vacation time, your sick time, your all these different things that they've built in, and your time is actually becoming a currency. It's so interesting. I've never worked in corporate. I'm pretty much broken from the education system. Like, I was an underserved, undiagnosed ADD, ADHD student who thrived in creative environments. So my photography and creative writing and communications, those were the areas that I thrived. I manipulated my curriculum to be able to, like, I didn't want to do normal physical education, so I started a campaign in my school that would allow us to go to a physical camp, like YMCA, and we could forego our phys ed requirements and attend a leadership training and surf camp for a couple of weeks with the YMCA. This was in San Diego. And I got so many students to do that. So I've always been kind of a pioneer, a rule breaker. I've been pushing the envelope and doing everything that I could to buy my time and use my freedom. And sometimes that was good. I was talking with my husband earlier. Hindsight is 2020. If I could only go back, knowing what I know now, right? Like, Karen, how many times have you woken up and been like, just give me the last 10 years back?
Well, the thing is about time is you can actually time travel. That's what's so beautiful about it. So you can go
I
to the
believe it.
future
I
and
I
you
do
can
it.
see your future self and you can say, what would future self enjoy right now? If I live this way, will future self think that was a great decision? Will future self say, oh, why did Kara do that? You could also reframe your past because I think what you set your story that you shared is a story of resourcefulness and resilience and creativity.
100%.
And I
No.
think that you were living your best life. You truly were.
Oh,
You were.
I'm still living the best life. And I think everyone's version of that, it all has to be put into perspective. Media wants you to think and feel and believe and adopt and adapt to what you see every day. And based off of your interests one day, they will completely flood your feed with one thing. So it's a totally manipulated reality that most people are living in. And a lot of the what you're talking about right now, Karen, was applied to me in my last business venture. I say that I'm a made entrepreneur. I'm not a born entrepreneur. I've always carved my own path, but it was really my husband who nurtured and encouraged and saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself, and started to direct my energy in a really positive way. He encouraged me to become a platform speaker and share my life experiences, and start my podcast and all of these different things. So I believe that the time we've invested with one another has brought out the best and challenged the worst aspects of ourself. And doing that, time traveling, that quantum leap into your future self, but using the present as a gift, man, it's such an incredible paradigm. And I believe that this next generation is really going to be the ones to leverage and harness the power of the universe and time, because many of them are seeking to break free from what they witnessed in their parents and this current generation. Let me ask you this question. In all of your experience going in and out of the household as a primary caregiver and entering in and out of the workforce, what were some of the biggest challenges? And even now, let me just make sure to mention you are now currently a thriving, successful businesswoman with your own business, working in real estate, multiple irons in the fire, creating a legacy for your family. What have been some of your biggest challenges navigating that road and building success for yourself?
Well, you said it in the bio, and the only one stopping me was me. I too had a husband that was very supportive of me. So a lot of it was my limiting beliefs that I had from growing up and what I thought, I
What are some of those beliefs? I know a lot of people in the audience are thinking about that.
worked. She worked with my father in his business. And so I really wanted to stay home with my children because I wanted to do something different. And I felt like I wanted to be there when I could. And I am
Mhm.
still that I still is true. What I see now though is I when I really truly re-entered the workforce and found my calling, I was thriving so much that if I was thriving when they were growing up, it may have been a better message for them. So I am supportive of whatever women's choices are and what is best for them and for their family. And what I share with women is I did not re enter the full time workforce until I was 50 years old. And within 5 years, I was out earning my husband. And I had been out of the full time workforce for almost 18 years. So I want to empower people, women particularly, that you can do it at any time. And and I believe that if you have it inside of you to do it, that it's a calling and it will happen and you just have to find your time. And when it's your time, then take it because I was many of the messages I grew up. I graduated from college in 1981, and it was the era of women's lib. And really, many women who college educated who did not go into the workforce, we were told that we were holding back our sisters and that we all the work that had been done was being lost. And I'm like, wow, that's a big pressure I had to put on someone.
Yeah.
I'm like, my husband's travel schedule, by the time I try to find somebody to take care of my kids, I'm not going to make any money. um, and so
Yeah.
I didn't have family nearby. And so and many people, single moms, so many challenging situations. But what I'm saying is that don't let society tell you what's right for you. Decide for you, and then recognize that you can do it. Now, I'm very intentional and very purposeful. Wayne Gretzky says he skates to where the puck is going. I am working diligently, consistently to see where the market is going, what trends are, and staying, current. And I had a podcast in 2017 before podcasts were cool. So
I know, me too.
I'm always looking forward instead of in the past. I'm wanting to be relevant and current, and that's intentional. Like our team just went to Slack, which has been a learning curve. And yet at the same time, I tell my team members, like, this is great brain development. Like, think about it, all these brain connections you're making. So when you do step out, a lot of times your skills are going to not keep up. And so you get to learn how to do that. And so embrace it. I'm always wanting to be example and leader in going into the next space.
I can't tell you how this hits home for me right now. Last night I was speaking to a group of women. I was invited to join a group of women and speak to them about their own personal evolution, their spirituality, how they connect with themselves and find their voice and express themselves. And a lot of the time when you are making these transitions, whether you're deciding to stay home, whether you're deciding to re-enter into the workforce. And I'll just speak to my women right now, and I'll speak to the men from a supportive role as well, because you guys are also making those transitions. Um, it's very difficult to find your confidence when your competence is compromised. And that starts to write a story in your mind about who you are, how you are, and what you're capable of. And we spend so much time, like it's money, we spend the time wasting, in my opinion, it's wasted time worrying about our insufficiencies, our inefficiencies, rather than grabbing it by the balls and making a choice to develop and enter into who we actually want to be. See, we think that the older we get, the less time that we have and it completely eliminates our ability to live in this moment right now. And so I think that that's a pretty significant disconnect. Like I was looking at these women yesterday, and some of them are brand new mothers and, you know, spending quite a bit of time thinking about how that's going to affect their relationship, how that's going to affect their professional life, how it's going to affect their social life, instead of just being present in the moment. And I see that happen a lot with my colleagues. I've even personally experienced it when making transitions in my own businesses. For instance, I just spent the last 12 years in business incubation, developing the cannabis industry. I helped write legislation to legalize cannabis, built an incredible, abundant business, and now made an exit, and now we're doing something completely unrelated in a new space. But you know what, like I have not felt this alive in so long. So I say all of that because you said I didn't start this until I was nearly 50 years old. Well, Martha Stewart didn't build her multi-billion-dollar company, and she started that when she was 50 years old. So let's take a minute to brag a little bit. I want to first ask you this. You and you kind of answered it a little bit, but I'm going to see if I ask you this more directly, if you give me a different answer. What is true abundance to you? If you think about abundance, what is the definition of abundance to you? Or freedom?
Well, time freedom, I think, and financial freedom in order to being able to enjoy the time you have. Hal Elrod has an affirmation that I have adopted and have adjusted a little bit. So the affirmation is I love the life I have as I create and co create the life of my dreams. Hal's affirmation is I love the life I have as I create the life of my dreams. I had to co create because I wanted to do this in relationship that are people who are close to and that I work with and also impact and not be in isolation. So the reason why this really was a game changer for me to adopt this is because I was living life. I could love it now, and who cares about what happens tomorrow? Or I could prepare for
Yeah.
tomorrow, and now sucks, right? So I was like, why is this an either or? Why? I mean, Hal helped me see that it's a both and. That right now being fully present. So I if I had a regret, the regret would be that the times where, particularly when my children were young, and I know this is a challenging time in life, but when my children were young, I regretted how much I wished it would speed up. Because those times, I know it seems so cliche, but you really don't get it back. So that's what it means to me to be fully present right where I am now, and to love that right now, and have that potentiality vision of what it can be, what I can be, what the people around me can be, what my business can be, what my relationship, my community can be, what I can contribute that can make that be. And that to me is abundance, because I believe that encompasses a very, very full and meaningful life.
On that thread, I have to ask you, I ask most of my guests this, but it's when people have lived more life than me, have more experience than me, have, been in their relationship for a really long time. I really look for not only mentors but friends like that. Every single year I invest into a mastermind, I invest into my network, I invest into the power of proximity because I want to make sure that my time is spent with people who are challenging my best thinking and always pushing me to be more, do more so that I can have and enjoy more. Um, what I loved about some of the things that you shared on your when I was a guest on your podcast has to do with condensing time and creating accelerated success results. So I know that there's people who are listening right now who are, challenged by the circumstances of our country right now. They may be having a financial challenge, a time challenge. Maybe they're not seeing eye to eye in their relationship. Some of the things that you've talked about here are very real for many, many folks who could be listening to this show right now. And so I want to just ask you, what are your 5 success principles, and what are 3 pieces of advice that you can offer our listeners right now that can help them condense time and move closer to where it is that they want to be in their life or
Oh my
business?
goodness. So now the 5 minute success principles, you and I went through them on the podcast. Those really are business
Yep.
principles, although I would say they have life aspects to them. So in life is a business. So the first one is to commit to get leads, and that's business development, prospecting, lead generation. If you don't have if you don't have any clients, you don't have anything to do when you're in business. So, but I would say it's true of dentists. Dentists need patience, and I would say it's true of really anything in life. If you don't have that passion figured out, what your passion project is, then you need to commit to doing that first. The next one is what I call consult to sell, and that's the process. That's the skills to actually do what it is. If you're in real estate, it's to help people buy and sell houses that leads into a transaction. But if you're a dentist, it's cleaning people's teeth. If you're a church, it's probably the ministries and the worship. So, and then there's what I call connect to build and grow. And that's what you were talking about, the masterminding, the mentoring. That's the creating the leverage. When you're connecting with others to grow, you're creating scale, leverage systems. And then all of that is surrounded by success principles of success thinking, activities, and vision. So you have the vision of your business and life, your future self. You think about how to do it, and then you take the actions. And that leads to the sweet spot of success. When we're talking about what a key principle to this is really energy. So it really is energy. It's really not even time management, it's energy. That is the resource of success. So that's why the self-actualization is so brilliant, is because when you're focusing your energy on where you are meant to be and doing what you're meant to do, you're going to have the highest impact. And as you do that over time, you will be better at it. It's like a muscle, you become better at it. You'll also start to experience the benefits of it. And when you start to experience the benefits of it, you're going to want to do more. People around you are going to recognize it. They're going to see it in you. They're going to affirm it. And it becomes a positive, self-fulfilling prophecy. Some ways it's, like a domino. You knock over a lot of dominoes. Sometimes it's like a snowball that builds. Sometimes it's exponential. Sometimes you will make such a shift in your life. I remember the day I realized that the only person stopping me was me, was such a game changer, because before I was waiting for everybody else to change. And I realized that I had it in me to do what I wanted for my life. And so I started doing it. Now, it took a little while before I got, honed those skills. But when people say, well, how do you do it? I'm like, well, you start small and build up. Most people can build success habits and success principles better that way than they can. Yes, you can quit smoking cold turkey. Yes, I'm, those kind of things. But most people have to, build those muscles. So pick one thing. Just pick one thing, and do that, and focus on it, and really give it yourself. And when you again, start to experience the benefits of it, then you will want to do more. And then that will create the success, the life that you love.
Such good advice, and something that I've had to really apply, and doing the self check. And I'll just reciprocate and add on to what you had to say here based off of my limited experience in life here. You know, I have had the pleasure and the challenge of raising four kids. One just got early admission into Northwestern. Another one is already at Montana State. I got a 15-year-old who's totally enwrapped in art, and then an almost 7-year-old. And so a lot of what you shared here completely applies to me. While I'm on the hustle and trying to find and be in flow to build financial abundance so that I have more time, it's not until my fourth child that I'm really recognizing how fast that time goes by, and how much I miss that that little spirit that's around when they're so young. And so my piece of advice would be to find your focus and love your life. Right where it's at, there is so much beauty around you, whether you're in the deepest, darkest place, or in your highest thriving self. There is so much beauty around you, and your energy will go to what you fixate on. I really invite you to tap into what actually, and no matter how crazy the idea is, no matter how silly it seems, really dive into something that makes you feel passionate. If it's writing, if it's photography, if it's content, if it's, whatever that is for you, do it every day. Do it multiple times a day, and you'll start to find a pathway forward. Our job as human beings, from my understanding and study, is to become the most authentic version of ourselves. And we spend so much time trying to be what we are expected to be, do what we're expected to do, that we miss the opportunity to be as we are, who we are, and be loving and accepting of that. And so in this time of my life, I we just exited a company. We had built up our expertise, and really for a moment I felt disoriented. My entire identity was wrapped up in being the influencer and success and at the top of this one particular space. But what I've discovered is, when you find your passion, when you find purpose, and that's really what's happening for me right now. My husband and I founded a company called Abundant Acres, and we're helping families from all different walks of life build out their legacy with family compounds, develop their land into food producing paradises, offering them security and a feeling of sanctuary, just in case things go haywire. But if they don't, they have a beautiful place to retreat to, and they have full control over the kind of food and quality of food that they're nourishing their families with. And for a long time, I never thought that this would, I never thought that this would be what I was doing, but I found purpose, and I'm developing such a deep passion for the work that I'm doing. And so I invite you to do the same thing. Find your purpose and leverage your passion for life to bring that purpose, open flow for yourself, and build abundance in your life and with your business. So those are the couple of things that I'm going to share with you. Karen, thank you so much for spending the time with us. I know you have this incredible book out. Let our folks know where they can find you and where they can get your book.
So, 5 Minute Success, it's the number 5, and that's where you can find the podcast on all the podcast channels. And be sure and tune into Sonia's episode where she talks about Abundant Acres, and you'll want to know more about that. So, Amazon, where all books are sold. Flip Time, Love Life is the book we talked about today. There's also the real estate books, the 5 Minute Success principal books, Real Estate Success in 5 Minutes a Day. So you can get those online. And if you Google Karen Briscoe, you'll find me in the real estate space. And I also offer coaching. If you think it might be a good fit and you want to have a conversation, I offer a consult. You can schedule a time with me to visit if you would be interested in talking about coaching. So I just am so thrilled to be here with you today, Sonia. I'm glad we we're able to share the mics together again.
Me too. Thank you so much for spending the time. And for those of you guys who are listening in, if when you got value for this, I'd love for you to comment below. Let us know what your big takeaway is. How are you spending your time, and how are you going to start to buy back some of that valuable time for yourself, your family, and the things that you're most passionate about? I'm going to invite you now to like, tag, and share your friends on whatever social platform that you engage on most. Together with our last podcast, we were able to impact over 300 million people worldwide with our message. And today is no different, guys. Let's come together and create some incredible impact, make some incredible, build abundance together. More importantly, celebrate a life of freedom. You're listening to the Abundance Podcast because you want to find out more about the areas that matter most in our life: our faith, our families, our finances, and more importantly, our future. Thanks so much for tuning in with us, and we'll see you guys on our next episode of the Abundance Podcast. We'll see you soon.